And I wanted to turn that around. I wanted to turn that whole perception around and say, you know what? Be grateful that we're still here at whatever certain age it is. And those wrinkles that we have, it's because we were laughing, So I wanted to bring awareness to that as well as caregivers. It's so important to really not only take care of the person that's going through some difficulty, but to also return it to yourself as well. So it puts us all in the same position pretty much. And to say to ourselves, wow, I'm just so grateful and appreciative of today. And it's taught me to live in the present moment. And it changed my perception that we're not going to be here forever.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you again to a new edition of Beyond the Cancer Diagnosis interview series. Today is my pleasure to invite Michele Reynolds. She's author of the book Pause Between the Years and a caregiver. Michele, thank you for accepting my invitations, and we are very happy to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
To begin our interview, I was searching some things about you to ask, and I saw the website that you have it, and beside the question, who is Michele Reynolds, I found one very interesting. Why choose Michele? So I will kindly ask you to answer both of them, but mostly the second one. Why choose Michele? Because this is very interesting questions that I found.
Thank you. So who is Michele? Okay, I'm going to start off. So I am a speaker, an author, and entrepreneur. So just to briefly, in regards to the entrepreneurship, I own an electrical contracting company along with my husband. So we're co-owners. Been in business for over 27 years now. Back in 2014, we started another venture, a utility contracting company. And that lasted for about 4 years. That was short-lived. I was president. My husband was vice president, and we had another male partner. We closed due to financial reasons, and lots of lessons learned. Good and bad, but overall, I'm glad we went through the experience. So not too long after that, it was back in 2018, was when my husband was diagnosed with cancer. So in order for you to understand why choose Michele, I want to just touch on a couple of these things because all of these different experiences brought me to where I am at today. And when my husband was first diagnosed back in 2018, he had plasmacytoma, which is an isolated tumor. So it's cancer of the plasma cells located inside the bone marrow. At that time, he was treated with radiation, but the doctors did tell him that he had a 50% chance of developing multiple myeloma, which are multiple lesions all throughout your body. So in 2020, it did come back. And at that point, we were off to the races to basically save his life. So all of these experiences that we've had throughout our lives, the next question would be, why choose Michele? I wrote my book, Pause Between the Years, and I know we're going to dive into that a little bit. But also, I do a lot of speaking on podcasts and so forth. And my mission really, why choose me? I speak from the heart. I share my story authentically. I believe it's so important to reflect on our life experiences and learn from them. And for me, I've always been so passionate about being that light for others and shining that light on others so that they can go within and see these gifts within themselves, because that's really where the power lies. So it just really makes me so happy to be able to share and to put that light on others, to also be able to possibly share their stories and be more vulnerable and open, because I think that's where the connection, the true connection lies.
Yes, because you mentioned 2018, 2020, it was just before the COVID. And from the point of view of caregivers, there is not so much information neither for patients, neither for caregivers. So what you are doing by sharing your experience, it is something very important in this field
Yes.
of
So,
cancer care, and especially in this topic of cancer care trajectory, to see, to have a purpose, because not so long ago, from this point of view, there was no purpose, for the caregivers. And I had an interview which was called "How About Them, the Caregivers," because it is something really, really important. And as no, I know from the experience, the family support or the caregiver support increase the chances of, let's say, not getting better, but healing with almost 50%, which is an important number.
yes.
So being next
Yes.
to the person, it is very, very important. Our interview
Mm-hmm.
title is Pause Between the Years, and I choose it uh, like your book that you've written. Could you let us know the idea behind the book or the story, and moreover, which is the legacy that you want to let in people, not for them, but in them after reading the book?
Yes. Well, when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, it was during COVID, exactly right during COVID, March of 2020. So we traveled 17,000 miles away to the facility where he was being treated. And at that time, I had a lot of time by myself because I couldn't go into the hospital with him when he was being treated. So I just remember having this conversation with our youngest daughter. We have 3 kids. And at the time I told her, I said, I have so many thoughts going through my mind, and I'm not sure how to handle this or how to really understand what I'm going through, what I'm feeling. And my daughter had suggested, she recommended to me, she says, Mom, you know what? Just write like no one's going to ever see it. So I literally got up the next morning at 4 a.m. and I just started writing. I started as a journal type of writing, more so about the observations of what I was seeing my husband go through and what we were feeling at the time. And I realized after doing this every single morning that I started to feel better. I started to, in a sense, start that process of healing. And I really wasn't sure where I was taking this, but I said to myself, this feels good. I'm going to keep doing it. And as I was doing it, I noticed my writing started turning more from like a journal style writing to more of appreciation, of gratitude. I started seeing things out of this pain that we were going through that I didn't recognize before. So I continued on with it. I just kept on with it. And this was back in 2020. So I started a collection of my writings. And in 2023, through encouragement of my family and friends, they said, you know what? We need to turn this into a book. And I thought, you know what? Oh my God, that would bring me so much joy to be able to share these words of wisdom that I've learned. So that's when I brought in my book coach and publisher and really got serious about it. And my book was published in November of 23. But I didn't want this book to be particularly about cancer. I know it started that way and it was a motivator for me. But what it did for me was it did so much healing because throughout my writings, I look at each one of them like pause between the years is exactly that. That's what we did. When we were diagnosed with this, it literally stopped us in our tracks. And the front page of my book is like this glass dome with a butterfly in it. And that's exactly how we felt. We felt like we were in this glass dome, just pausing. And everybody around us was still living their life, but ours had stopped completely. And I use the analogy of the butterfly a lot because I look at that as here we have this caterpillar, right? And then it has to go through this pain and this uncomfortableness and the darkness. And then but trusting at the same time that, okay, this is meant for more. I know there's a deeper meaning behind this. And then you go out and have this beautiful butterfly. So there's a lot of pain and beauty. So I wanted to capture it in my writings. So each message, there's 52 messages in this book, like one basically for each week of the year. However, you can read my book probably within a couple of hours because it's more of a simple read, but it captures everything from nature. I bring a little bit of nature in there. And I also bring in, I talk about aging, and I talk about unlocking yourself, your inner voice. So I kind of touched on so many different life experiences that I felt could resonate with so many people. And you can basically turn to that page and say, okay, I really need some inspiration on growing older. For example, a lot of times people fear aging. And I wanted to turn that around. I wanted to turn that whole perception around and say, you know what? Be grateful that we're still here at whatever certain age it is. And those wrinkles that we have, it's because we were laughing, and the grayness in our hair is because of all the wisdom that we learn. So it's just another way of looking at life and life experiences and going through the whole process of caregiving. I mean, there's so many things I could talk about with caregiving as well, because I've learned that a lot of times caregivers, we care so much about that person that we are taking care of that we forget about ourselves. And there was a moment there throughout the process that I started to develop so much pain, and I thought there was something wrong with me. And I went to the doctors, and thank God I was fine. But the doctor said, well, it's stress, it's what you're going through. And what I didn't realize is that I was really not breathing. It was a shallow breathing. It was the anticipation of what that next thing is going to happen. So I wanted to bring awareness to that as well. As caregivers, it's so important to really not only take care of the person that's going through some difficulty, but to also return it to yourself as well.
I've noted two words here, routine and nature, because you said that day by day you are starting like writing like in a journal. In our profession, this means making a routine, and this is the first thing that we recommend to a caregiver or to a patient to do it, to have a daily routine, because as you mentioned, it helps a lot. The second one, the nature, it's one of the 4 sources of meaning of life, connecting with nature. But unfortunately, we discover all of us this too late sometimes. So connecting with nature, it's one of the sources of meaning. So be one with the nature, or surrounded by nature. It is something that help us understand life better, and when we healing ourselves from, let's say, daily challenges. But another thing that I want to mention, and you said it also, you found yourself in the point of seeing doctors. And this is happening because, like, an explanation is that the cancer patient has only one purpose. Yes. To be okay, to be cancer-free. But the caregiver has at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different main purposes on the same time, assuming the same level of energy. So this is the reason that always for a caregiver, it's harder, this cancer better than the patient itself. And sometimes as I always said, happiness, it's more harder for us to take it than the sadness, because it's biggest consumer of energy than the sadness itself. But it's very nice that you've included this in your thoughts and in your books, and talking about challenges. For sure, it was also opportunities. Were opportunities as well. Which was the biggest challenge within this period, if you can tell us, and which was the biggest opportunity that you found it out of getting out of this?
I would say what I've learned and challenge was I call myself a recovering perfectionist, right? Because I've always wanted to have everything just right and be in control, right? And that was something I came to terms with when this was happening. And I remember the moment it happened. It was really on our way traveling to it was at Little Rock, Arkansas, is where we went. And driving there, I just remember I would almost visualize like this tidal wave coming at us. And I remember trying to just hold it back internally and thinking, okay, I don't want this thing to hit us. And I remember that moment when I just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It took so much energy to resist what was coming and trying to control it. And I surrendered. And that was my biggest eye opener is I used to think of surrender as a sign of weakness, as a sign of, oh gosh, I'm giving up. And I found out, no, it's so different. It's such the opposite. When I surrendered, I accepted the not knowing. And I think that's what was so important was accepting that I might not know the answer. We're not going to know what's happening, but to trust. And once we allow that to come in and we let go of that push and pull, that clarity starts to come about. And a peacefulness and calmness in our bodies where I felt like, okay, I'm safe. I gave myself that safety net and said, okay, we're going to be okay. No matter what happens, we're going to be okay. So once I released that, I felt like everything started to fall in place because I trusted. And I think that's such a big eye opener. I think so much of us, when we're hit with these type of things, we don't want to, we resist it so much and we keep fighting it. And when we learn that by doing the opposite, it brings in such goodness and you look at things so differently in a whole different way. That's when the healing starts to happen. That's when these really good things start to all fall in place. And that's really truly what happened for me and for my husband as well. Because I feel like, we are magnets for each other and our energies and vibrations. So when I started to change that about myself, I feel like it helped my husband as well. It brought a lot of positivity to him as well.
If you were positive, he was for sure positive because it was like something that you've sent it to him. And talking about challenges and opportunities, what kept you motivated all this time, except of the things that you've told me before? There is something specific that you've want to mention about motivations and about how you challenge hope in all these years?
I think by nature, I have always been very optimistic, again, ever since I was little. And I was always been very curious. When I was a little girl, my family would call me question mark because I would question everything and I had to know the deeper meaning. So I think that has helped me in a lot, because everybody along with us, we've been through so many ups and downs and so many challenging moments. But I always look at everything as having a deeper meaning, right? So whatever we go through, I know we are not meant to be suffering. We're not meant to be suffering. We will have pain in our lives. We will have challenges and so forth. But I always look at the deeper meaning and say, okay, what is this really about? And to have this motivation of positivity, that's what carries me through everything, is not to be the victim, is to say, okay, this is what we're dealt with, right? And to change that fear into courage. I think it's really, we are so fearful of losing other people and things happening to us that that resistance starts to build up, where we just say, okay, I see what's coming. I'm going to have courage and strength to get through this, and providing that safety net for ourselves. that's where it starts. And a lot of times now I focus on talking to others about going within, meaning that the power and the answers that we're looking for, we often seek outside of us, but it's really within us. And once we realize that and know that, there's so many gifts within us that we haven't even opened yet. And once we do, that's where our strength comes from.
You mentioned the word fear. Fear is an emotion. We all know. What about worry?
Oh, gosh.
Because this is something that we've created. Fear
Oh, my
comes
goodness. Yeah.
natural, but worry is something that it's in our mind always.
Yes. Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. Of course, yes, worry. And I found some strategies, right, that have helped with that because my husband can tell you this. I overthink sometimes. I really dissect stuff so much when it's just like kind of just let it go and don't worry, it'll take care of itself. But so what I've done to help throughout this process is I'm a big meditator. I do meditation, and I know that's not for everyone, but meditation can come in so many different forms. It could be even just walking, in the park, but it's really creating space in your mind. So when you start to have those worries, that's when you kind of have yourself sit in silence, right? And so you can create that space and see those worries as not factual, but they're worries. There are thoughts going through our heads, but to see them as they are, let them kind of go by. So meditation has been one that's been key for helping me to kind of calm myself down and be at more peace. And also, education. It's interesting because a lot of people would say when my husband was diagnosed, how can I help? What can I do? And I'd often just say, you know what? Educate yourself on this. That is the best. I mean, education is power. And when you have a support team that is also learning about what you're going through, you can bounce things off of each other, but have resources. And I think that's so huge because we don't know what's out there and what can help us if we don't tap into it. So I think education is another one that's powerful. Along with, for me, it was writing. Writing was my source of like brain dumping all my worries and everything on paper. And again, this may not be for everyone, but it's a source that, and you don't even have to be a writer per se. You don't have to be someone that creates a book, but it's just more or less putting your thoughts on paper. There's such a healing that happens when you do that. So I would highly, highly encourage that as well. And these are just some of the things that helped me.
And when you are writing, you discover yourself in a way. Because
Absolutely. Yes.
your thoughts, you put them in an order. Yeah, when you write something down, and you said about education, and I want to tell you that all the activity that you are doing now as a person, as a speaker, it's what is called psychoeducation, which in our profession sometimes it's under-evaluated because we make the mistake to suppose the fact that people knows about. And this is the worst assumptions that we can do, to suppose that, to think that for sure I don't have to mention this because everybody doesn't know everything. So psychoeducations, I always encourage people to do psychoeducations, to search for psychoeducations, because psychoeducations, it's information, but it's information, let's say, from the source, from the events, from the middle of the battle, which are the most important ones. And what I want to ask you now about, and we are approaching the end of our interview, it is the term or the topic of perceptions. Now you've been through all these challenges, and in your activity as a speaker, writer, author, when you talk with people, how much is perceptions in this battle of cancer? How much is, let's say, sensorial? It's the real thing. In a way, how much we perceive this as a danger and how really is the danger. Because we tend, as persons, to increase the danger or the reality very much due to the perceptions of the things.
And this is something, you never want anyone to go through, right? You never want anyone to have to go through this, but it has literally changed our perception of everything since we went through this. And I would have to say, number one, what it taught me was that, and it's funny, when you haven't gone through something like this, you tend to think, this is at least what I thought. We'll be here forever, right? We'll be here for a long time, and you don't think about these things. You just live your life. And now I look at life so differently because I say to myself, at any moment, our life can change at any second of the day. And none of us are immune to this. I know it happened to my husband, but it can certainly happen to any one of us. So it puts us all in the same position pretty much. And you say to ourselves, wow, I'm just so grateful and appreciative of today. And it's taught me to live in the present moment. And it changed my perception that we're not going to be here forever, and to really appreciate each other and to not put things off. Before we would put things off. Now we look at things and say, okay, we're going to vacation more. We're going to see our family more, our friends, or, spend time with the kids. But it's just really, really appreciating life and being grateful for each other. That's really changed our perception so much. And also, too, it's like when I would say about cancer and there's beauty that comes from it. This is the beauty that comes from it. I think sometimes people would get kind of confused with that. And it's like, there's so much beauty in pain. If you can see through that and understand the lessons that were taught to us, I think were necessary at the time. It helped us better to evolve into people that are in greater appreciation of life.
You talk about pain, and it was a quote long time which said that it is the pain or the challenges in our life which reveals how we really are. And it helps us find the strength that we don't know that we have within us. So it is pain. It's like a thirst of revealing the things that are within us, but we don't know that they are there. And for the final question, I was choosing a motto of great philosopher Nietzsche about the eternal hourglass of existence. Yes, which is turned upside down, and you mentioned about this. And which is it's going upside down again and again. And once he mentioned also about the eternal recurrence of human beings. So like we are moving on the same circle each day. Are you agree or don't?
Oh, gosh.
Not agree. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely. Yes. And I learned too that like life is cyclical. It's constantly cycles that we're going through, and it's not linear. It's, these things that we experience, whether it be joy or pain or sadness, we go through them and then we go through them again. And so it is a continuation of all of these different challenges in our lives, which helps us too to understand that, through each phase, when you have these tools to put in place, these strategies, when you learn, again, it goes back to that learning, whatever we go through, learn as much as we can from it, because we gain this knowledge, right? And then the next time it happens down the road, not to say, okay, we're going to get it next time, then we're not going to go through everything. Of course we are. I mean, so many times it's like we're constantly evolving, but we never get to the end point where we say, okay, we got this, we're healed, we can manage anything in our lives. But it's going through that, but being able to pick yourself back up a little bit quicker and say, okay, now I got some of these tools I could put in place that will help me to manage and get through these tough situations.
Great. Michele, thank you very much for
Well,
all the
thank you.
insights that you've shared with us, all the sincere thoughts that you've shared with us today, and hope to see you with
Oh,
a new occasion, maybe with other lessons of life for our caregivers and for our audience to learn from. Thank you very much
uh,
and good luck further.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.